Good.
Just just fine, Your Honor.
All right, anyone that's going to testify, if you'll raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, so help you God?
I do.
Yes.
Okay, you can put your hand down. And first on the docket is cause number 57, the state of Robert Edwin Clemens. Mr. Dawson, are you on? I don't see Dick. Okay. Cause number 95, the state of Kathleen Ann Babcock.
Lacey Rendon, I am the ad litem on this case.
Good morning, ma'am.
Jack Duffley on behalf of Sidney Hugh Babcock, the applicant.
All right, you may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, we call Sidney Hugh Babcock. I believe Mr. Babcock is on the call.
You're muted, Mr. Babcock.
Mr. Babcock, can you hear me?
Yes.
We
Okay.
can hear you now.
Great. So, Mr. Babcock, can you please state your name for the record?
Sidney Hugh Babcock.
And who is the decedent in this matter?
Kathleen Ann Babcock.
And what is your relation to Kathleen Babcock?
Husband.
And on what day did Miss Babcock pass away?
I believe it was like September 8th. Between the 8th and 9th, it was toward midnight.
And how long have you known Miss Babcock?
Since 1975.
And where did Miss Babcock live when she passed away? In which county?
Chambers.
And did Miss Babcock have any other marriages other than yours?
No.
Did she have any children?
No.
Did she ever adopt any children?
No.
And to your knowledge, did she leave a will or last will behind before passing?
No.
Has there been any administration on her estate to date?
As far as I know, I don't think so. I don't know.
Do you know of any debts that she owed?
She had some credit card debt, but that was separate. We had separate accounts.
Okay. And then, Mr. Babcock, have you ever been convicted of a felony?
No.
And to your knowledge, are there any unpaid estate or inheritance taxes on her estate?
No.
At this time, Your Honor, I have no further questions for Mr. Babcock.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
You may.
Just for airship purposes, Mr. Babcock, you or your wife, you guys never brought any children into your home and represented them as your children that could potentially claim adoption by estoppel?
No.
Okay. That's all I have, Your Honor, for this witness.
All right, call your next witness, Counselor.
Yes, Your Honor, at this time, we call Bradford Brabeck. I believe is on the call as well. Hi, Mr. Brabeck. Could you please state your name for the record? I cannot hear you. Can anyone else hear Mr. Brabeck?
No.
It doesn't show muted. I don't.
Shows that she's muted, the Brad on my end.
It's Mr. Brayback, right?
Yeah,
Right.
Brad.
It shows is unmuted on my end as well.
Really?
What about Miss Brayback? Is she next?
Sure.
witness?
Yeah, so we'll return to Mr. Braybeck. This time we call Mrs. Deborah Braybeck instead.
All right,
Miss
Miss Brayback,
Braybeck.
you are muted.
Miss
There, is
Braybeck,
that
can you hear?
better?
There you go.
Yes.
Okay,
Great.
okay.
Okay, Mrs. Braybeck, would you mind stating your name for the record?
Deborah Brabeck.
And then Miss Braybeck, what is your relation to the decedent in this case?
Kathy was my aunt by marriage,
And how long have you known Mrs. Babcock?
probably since about 1979.
And on what day did the decedent pass away?
I believe September 9th of last year.
Do you know which county she was living in when she passed?
I know she lived in Baytown, so I think Chambers County, yes.
And who, if anyone, was the decedent married to when she passed away?
Uncle Sid Babcock.
And was she married to anyone else besides Mr. Babcock at any point?
No,
Did the decedent have any children at any point?
no,
Did she adopt or take in any children as her own?
no.
Do you know if she left a will behind, a last will?
She did not.
Do you know if there's been an administration of her estate to date?
Not that I know of.
Do you know if she owned an interest in any real property?
She did. You mean like her house and?
Yes.
Yes, her house and some property in Missouri, yes,
Okay.
or Missouri, yeah.
Okay. And then do you know if she owes any debts?
The only debt that I've heard about is the credit card.
Okay. And at this time, I have no further questions for Mrs. Braybeck.
Can I
Brabeck,
proceed, Your
excuse me.
Honor?
You may proceed.
Thank you so much. Just two questions follow up. Do you have a financial interest in the estate?
No,
Okay, and are you being paid for your testimony?
no.
Okay, that's all I have, Your Honor.
Your next witness.
Yes,
Counselor.
assuming Mr. Braybeck is hearable, we call Mr. Braybeck.
We're ready now. Apologies for technical difficulties earlier on there.
No
We
problem.
understand. It happens.
All right, sounds all good now. Mr. Brabeck, could you please state your name for the record?
Bradford Allen Brabeck.
And Mr. Brabeck, how do you know the decedent in this case?
She's my aunt
And how long have you known the decedent?
since 1975.
And in which county was the decedent living in when she passed away?
Baytown, Texas, Chambers County.
And are you familiar with the decedent's family history?
Yes.
Who, if anyone, was the decedent married to during her life?
My uncle Sid,
Is that Sydney Babcock?
Sidney Babcock.
And did the decedent have any other marriages other than the one to Mr. Babcock?
No,
Did the decedent have any children?
no,
Did the decedent adopt or have any children that she brought in as her own?
no,
Do you know if the decedent left a last will?
no.
So you don't know if there is one?
One was being worked on but never got signed.
Okay. Do you know if there's been an administration on her estate yet?
No,
To your knowledge, did the decedent own any real property?
the home with my uncle Sid and then property down in Missouri.
Okay. Do you know if the decedent owed any debts when she passed?
Credit card and home mortgage.
Okay. And then do you have any interest in this estate, Mr. Brabeck?
No,
And have you been compensated for your testimony today?
No.
With that, I have no further questions for Mr. Bromwich.
And then you may proceed.
I don't have any either. Mr. Duffley handled everything. He took all the questions out of my mouth, so pass the witness.
All right,
With
go ahead, Counselor.
Yes, with that, Your Honor, we move to establish that Sidney Hugh Babcock is the sole heir to the estate of Kathleen Babcock, and further that Sidney Hugh Babcock should be the independent administrator of the estate.
I don't see an order declaring heirship. Did
Um,
you not do one, Counselor?
I believe one was submitted quite some time ago.
Okay.
And the one granting administration was filed and accepted recently.
Yeah, I have the order granting independent administration.
Okay.
And authorized letters of administration, and I'm gonna go ahead and approve that. Make sure we get we got it. If we don't have it, make sure we get it. And Ms. Rendon, you agree that Mr. Babcock is sole heir?
I do. After all my questioning, I also looked on Ancestry, and there's no reason to question otherwise.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. You had your
Is
hand
it
up.
all one form? The heirship and the administration?
No, it is two separate orders.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
we'll find it. If not, Christie will get with you. Make
Yeah,
sure we have that.
I
All
believe
right, but I am
copy-
going to approve the administration and the fees to Adelaide and the friend.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Likewise, Your Honor.
All right, cause number 4, the state of Thomas Lee Walker. Ms. Rendon, you're up again. She's still there?
Are we able to sign off?
You
I
can sign off, sir. We're done. Have a
Okay.
good day.
Uncle Sid, you could sign off too.
Yeah, Uncle Sid, you can sign off.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Rendon, no. All right, let's go to number 10, state of Bob Alfred Phillips. Ms. Davis. There you are.
There you are, sorry.
That's okay. Do you have anyone testifying?
Yes, I have Jeffrey Phillips.
Do we swear him in? Mr. Phillips, you've been sworn in?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you may proceed, Counselor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Phillips, please state your full name.
Jeffrey Paul Phillips.
And what was your relationship to Bob Alfred Phillips?
I'm his only son.
And did your father pass away on December 11th, 2024 in Baytown, Chambers County, Texas at the age of 82?
Yes, ma'am.
And 4 years have not elapsed since the date of his death, is that correct?
That is correct.
And your father had a domicile and fixed place of residence in Chambers County, Texas on the date of his death, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have submitted a document which purports to be your father's last will and testament dated April 27, 2015. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And a copy of that will is attached to our application of probate and for issuance of letters testamentary. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that, to the best of your knowledge, the will was never revoked. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And no charitable, state, or governmental organization is named in that will as a devotee. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And no children were born to or adopted by your father after making that will. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And no marriage of the decedent was dissolved after the will was made as well. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And your father's will names you, Jeffrey Phillips, to serve as independent executor without bond. Is that your understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
And you are qualified and not disqualified to accept letters testamentary or from serving as independent executor. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, we ask that you admit the last will and testament of Bob Alfred Phillips to probate and appoint Jeffrey Phillips as independent executor without bond.
Well done. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Are we excused?
You are. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, cause number 13, the interest of Wade Tinsley White. The second.
We're present on that, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Fuller, Ms. Nelson. Good morning.
Good morning, Judge.
All right, so you may proceed, Counselor.
All right, Your Honor, I would call Rebecca White. Ms. White, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Please state your full name for the court.
Rebecca M. White.
And you are the mother of the proposed ward, Wade Tinsley White II. Is that correct?
It is.
Okay. And he was born February the 13th, 2007. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And he resides with you on Cottonwood Street in Baytown, Chambers County, Texas.
Yes, sir.
And you're asking the court to appoint you as a temporary guardian this morning, are you not?
I am.
And with authority to make financial decisions, to determine his residence, but most important, to administer medication and make medical and dental treatment decisions. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And also to make psychological and psychiatric treatment decisions. Would you just briefly describe his physical condition for the court?
Sure. So he was born with a genetic disorder and has had subsequent spinal cord injury, brain injury over the last 18 years, and he is now and has been for a long time non-mobile, non-verbal, ventilator dependent, and tube fed, and in a wheelchair, and quadriplegic.
Thank you, Ms. White. We're asking for a temporary guardianship because we believe that he's in imminent danger to his person. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Would you tell the judge what we concerned about what the imminent danger to his current situation is?
Yes, sir. So we recently found out that he has to have a full spinal fusion from his cervical spine all the way down to his pelvis, and it's compromising his breathing, and it's making it harder on him to breathe now. So we're waiting on as soon as they give us a surgery date for him. So that's it. Like his breathing is being more compromised now because his spine is so curved. And so they've got to straighten his spine in surgery. So we're waiting on a surgery date for that as soon as one becomes available.
And because he's just turned age 18, the medical care providers and the surgeons require you to have that authority to agree to that surgery. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So because of HIPAA, now that he's 18, I don't have access to his medical records. And I can't speak for him by law.
Ms. White, he has no money, no assets, does he?
No.
Okay.
No.
Your Honor, I would pass the witness.
Ms. Nelson, you may proceed.
Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning.
Do you want to grab a tissue?
No, I'm sorry. I just never thought I would be in this spot.
Don't
Like, I'm just really
apologize.
sad.
Don't apologize.
Sorry.
You just take your time.
No, it's
Rebecca.
okay. It's grief. I'm sorry.
Understand.
It's okay. We understand that you're here today for something that's very important and very emotional. You're asking for temporary guardianship because you need to have the ability to move as needed to get medical care for your son.
Yes, that's true.
And it's your intention to seek a permanent guardianship as well, because obviously that would be appropriate in this case.
Yes.
You've been taking care of your son since he was born.
Yes.
You recall that you and I met briefly last week.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and you understand from that meeting that I have no objection to this temporary guardianship, Your Honor. It seems very appropriate. I have no further questions.
That's all that we have, Your Honor. We'd ask that the bond be a minimal as there's no assets. And also as far as the time frame, we intend to file for a permanent guardianship immediately. Miss White has already completed the guardianship training course, so I think we'd just be waiting on the maybe a criminal background check. And of course, Ms. Nelson has already met with the proposed ward.
I concur.
Okay, so, yeah, no assets, $20 cash bond. Will suffice. How many days are you asking for on the
Could we,
temporary guardianship?
I'm certain that we're gonna move more
I'm
aggressive.
sorry, the doctor's office is calling. I've got to answer this
Go
real
ahead.
quick.
No, we're done with you, Ms. White.
Thank you, Ms. White. Your Honor, if we could have 45 days, I'm sure we can be back before the court because we're in Chambers County, which helps us as far as that's concerned.
I'm gonna give you 60 days.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Yeah, like, having to get the criminal checks and all that, you don't have any control over that schedule, that's for sure, it seems. So.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for the 60 days.
Oh, no problem. Heartbreaking. Okay, then I'm approving the temporary guardianship of Wade Tinsley White II until April 19th, 2025. Thank you all.
Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you, Ms. Nelson, for working with us under this time frame.
Absolutely. You have a great day. Thank you, Judge.
you.
Thank you.